Hello dear viewer, welcome back to Oblivion Class Restoration Project, where we take the generic character types and make them still generic, but at least there's combos. Yes, today's build is the Mage, and it is almost entirely based on combos. I don't know how to make just a mage or just a warrior. It's like a mage but with what or without what. On top of that, how to make that mage Oblivion-like without any spell crafting feature thingy. Well, I don't know if you know this, but there is actually a way to combine spells and spell effects in Skyrim. You have two hands, you place one spell in one hand and another in the other hand, and presto! You just combined two spells, and sometimes both spells will have more than one effect. Amazing, amazing, absolutely amazing. So, let's rush through the basics, the mods, the skills and the like, because the meat of the build is near the end when we talk spells and spell combos. First, here are the mods. Simple. Vokrii, as always, minimalistic races, minimalistic stones, and Odin, the magic overhaul. Odin spells will be quintessential to the build, as will be the changes Odin makes to vanilla spells. Honed metal could be useful to make better enchanted gear, but I wanted to see how far I can take the build with only unperked enchanting. Oblivion mages had alchemy as their major skill, so I decided to tie most of the power boosts to this wonderful skill. I even refrained from using Amplified Destruction enchantment, if you can believe that. What? To force myself into finding more combos. For the looks, I wear a Nibenese mage robe from Beyond Skyrim Bruma, and what else could it be? It's an Oblivion-inspired mage after all. For the basic character choices, we have High Elf as the race, which in Evenstar are rather amazing, with a constant increase to their Magicka and Magicka region. Then we have Mage as the standing stone. It will boost the effectiveness of all magic schools by 10%, handy since we will use plenty of different spells. And for the attribute ratio, we need 1 in health per 2 in Magicka. We will cast plenty of expensive spells. Late game, we will use most of the item slots to increase Magicka and Magicka region, so use alchemy to boost your health if needed. Generally, with this build, don't do that thing when you hoard all your potions for a harder fight. No, you use your potions always, especially the Fortify magic ones and the Fortify skills, magic skills I mean. Glowing Mushroom, Nightshade, best friends forever, generally wonderful. If I were to use Winter Sun, I would probably go Julianos. It's a perfect deity for a mage, and his shrines are easy to find. There's one in Solitude, for example, but again, this is an Odin test as much as a build didn't want or need any more than the mods listed before. Now skills. We have all the magic skills excluding enchanting, but we do have alchemy. In the instruction, we need all the frost perks, all the shock perks, Hellstorm, 1 rank of Rune Master as a prerequisite to Hethot's Disjunction, and Elemental Shield. Without Amplified Destruction and most of our item slots being occupied with Fortify Magicka and Magicka region, Hellstorm and both Cloak spell perks will be immensely important. Some haste at leveling up your destruction is advised. With both Vokrii and Odin, perking 2 elements is a much better idea than in vanilla. The stamina damage of Frost and Magicka damage of shock spells is doubled in Odin, and Chilling Frost applies weakness to Frost, solving the problem of half the Skyrim enemies having a resistance to Frost. The slowdown effect of Frost spells is also fixed, so it won't disappear when the Frost spell effectiveness is increased by more than 100%. So in the end, when having a shock spell in one hand and a Frost spell in the other, you can potentially slow the enemies down, damage health, damage stamina, damage Magicka, increase their weakness to Frost, freeze them solid, or levitate them and prevent spellcasting for a few seconds. That is quite a lot of magic effects at once. In Alteration, take Alteration Mastery, Mage Armor, 3 ranks, Okatos Preparation, Stability Sorcerer's Robes, Magic Resistance, just 1 rank, Alter Self, 1 rank, and Atronach. Yes, I opted for 1 rank of resistance and try to keep a steady supply of magic resistance and elemental resistance potions. It was done to free up some perk points for all the destruction and illusion stuff. Only one rank of Alter Self was taken, and yes, you guessed it was used to increase magicka. Sorcerer's Robes was taken. Obviously Atronach is good as well, especially with the ward Absorb from Restoration. Your damage will be increased, your armor will be increased, and your magicka absorption will help you to beat other mages. Alteration is almost too useful. A bad amount of perks was taken in the illusion tree. Here there are. All of them will be insanely useful. Terror, for example, makes people drop their weapons when they are hit by a fear spell, and Iron Maiden makes the enraged enemies hurt themselves when they are hurting other enemies. Lamp to the Slaughter reduces armor and magic resistance of the enemies affected by a calm spell. The best thing in illusion and possibly in Vokrii is Blur. The Blur perk makes you ethereal and immune to damage when you are invisible. I could talk in great length on why it's so awesome, but instead you just pause the video and think about it. Yes, when you finally unlock this perk, it's 90 illusion unfortunately, you will have the ultimate tool of avoiding all damage pretty much whenever you want. All the problems the mages may have with health value and damage resistance are gone, irrelevant, dealt with. Absolutely amazing. In Conjuration we need the Atromancy branch up to Elemental Conflux. This is a supporting skill. You won't need much assistance late game, but before Distraction and Illusion are fully perked, stronger Atronach can save your butt, especially with Odin summons, each granting you an additional benefit when near you. You can, for example, improve your magicka regeneration with a simple Familiar. Getting another 20% to your elemental spell damage is also nice. Restoration will be even more of a secondary skill, but we want to get the Inner Light perk, both ranks, for yet another bonus to magicka regeneration, and Vigilant Ward for protection. Having our ward improved and our alteration maxed, and an Ursine Familiar summon can greatly improve our armor. With a ward in one hand and a short range spell like Storm Hands in the other, you can then fight up close, dealing a lot of elemental damage while resisting a lot of all kinds of damage. Rather cool and very magicka efficient. And to make it even more flexible and powerful, just a few little perks in alchemy were taken. Benefactor to fully improve your Fortified Destruction, Fortified Illusion, etc. potions, and of course stimulants. Of course. Sean Connery is speaking again. Yes.
Well, let's see. There's stains all over the walls, handcuffs on the radiator, and a dead hooker on the floor. Now let's get the hell out of my bedroom and go to the crime scene.
For the gear, we have the circlet and the necklace of Peerless Magicka and the Ring of Recovery. Then we have robes of Siphon Magicka. This particular enchantment is arguably useful even with the lower values. You mainly increase its range with enchanting levels, and you don't need the range to be maxed out for the enchantment to be somewhat useful. I also enchanted my gloves with Fortify Magicka. Having a set of Peerless Alchemy items allows for creating decent items without perks in enchanting, so that's what I did. And as usual, in the absence of enchanting perks and honed metal, I allowed myself to use additional slot, the book holder from Bags and Pouches, namely. It's enchanted with, you guessed it, another Fortify Magicka. Okay, all that I've said so far is not that important. All the fun with this build is in the spell combos. So here's the list of spells, or rather lists of spells. There's so many, I have to split them. Let's start with the most obvious vanilla or vanilla adjacent combos. Long-time viewers should be already familiar with them. Paralyze, of course. Early game you can cast it from a staff, which awaits you in Snapleg Cave, paired with vulnerability, opens up our first combo. Follow it with a wall spell, or maybe both of your wall spells, lightning and frost. This will melt most enemies, everyone who can't resist paralyze, basically, especially if you drink your best Fortified Destruction beforehand. Next, we have the Ice Storm in one hand and Chain Lightning in the other. Obviously, a Fortified Destruction potion will make it even better. It absolutely wrecks everything in narrow corridors, hallways, and smaller rooms. Both of of these spells are great because they don't require impeccable aiming. Chain Lightning finds its way to the target and Ice Storm damages everything in front of you. Summon a Storm Atronach beforehand and use a cloak of your choosing. This way the combo will apply 25% weakness to the element of your choosing, increase the lightning damage by 20%, slow down everyone in front of you, deal a lot of damage to health, stamina and magicka, and have a chance to either freeze the enemies solid or lift them into the air and make them unable to cast spells. You must cast both spells in rapid consecution to keep the extra effects going. Buff your magicka and magicka regen with your potions if needed. I don't use shouts with this project, but if you do, doing all of this with some Fortify Alteration slow timer mode will make things even scarier. Now for the Odin combos. Firstly, if you need to fight up close, summon an Ursine familiar and try to stay close to it. Then keep up your best ward and spam your Frost Hand or Storm Hand, depending on the enemy. Obviously, you should also have a cloak spell on, which should be handled by Okato's spell trigger. Wards are improved in Odin. They will reduce the damage intake and absorb spells for longer. With your best Fortify Destruction potion, your Storm or Frost Hand spell should deal around 300 damage, but if you have the time, you can increase this damage by casting some vulnerability before the fight. It's rather strong. And in longer fights you can add yet another combo. You can use Dirge on as many targets as possible, removing 200 points of health from them. As they approach you, cast the Circle of Death, which sounds like it was invented by an edgy teenager preparing a D&D adventure, but it's actually very good. It's a very good spell. It insta-kills anyone who is at 30% health or below. If Dirge doesn't bring them there, you can cast the simple Poison Rune, which you can easily bring up to around 12 points per second, and it will stack with your cloak damage, of course, so you remove 200 health to begin with, which will slay the weakest of enemies with the circle spell. Then the stronger ones will take up to 50-something damage per second until the circle can slay them. You just need to stay alive within the circle and keep enemies close. Troll's Blood, a ward and a good healing spell should help you with that. You can also do some insane things with Illusion. You can, for example, start with the Dirge again and cast your best Frenzy spell or a Frenzy Rune. While the enemies fight each other and lose health whenever they attack, you place as many Poison Runes near them as you can. If you are ever attacked by an infuriated enemy, you can easily fix it with a command spell or Invisibility. Invisibility will also allow you to pull off yet another simple combo available in vanilla but perfected by Vokrii. Again, Fortified Destruction and a cloak spell, and then simply some invisibility, be it potion or a spell. With the glorious perk of Blur, you become untouchable and immune to everything while dealing some insane damage. Okay, it may not be insane damage, but just enough to destroy everything if you have the time, and you will have the time because you will be immune to all damage. And against other mages, it's possibly best to just max out your shock spells and simply go with 2 chain lightnings and a lightning cloak. However, warlocks tend to use wards often when you try to get them with spells, and their wards are also improved by the Odin overhaul. So you need a summon to keep their attention, or perhaps use Sanctified Wraith, which is an interesting summon that drains magicka and dispel spells. Unfortunately, the spell is only available in random loot, so alternatively just use Lightning Wall and a potent Storm Atronach. Also remember the Elemental Resistance spell and the fact that your cloak spells will eventually grant you resistance to their elements. Finally, a few potion recipes, which will make your life super easy, barely an inconvenience. Increasing your magicka regen and health regen is lovely for almost any occasion, especially paired with Troll's Blood spell and the Magicka regen of Inner Life and Stimulants. Another one is made out of relatively rare ingredients, but seems worth the hassle. It gives you Fortified Destruction, Fortify Magicka, and Restore Magicka. It can turn any battle around for you, in your favor, I mean. Another one, unfortunately, requires Gleam Blossom, which is a rare ingredient available only in one location, basically. You can download a mod adding the ability to grow them in your Heartfire house, though. Add some Nirnroot and Lunamoth to that, and these two are at least very easy to get, and you will have a potion of invisibility, magic resistance, and regenerate health. Great to use with your blur perk, yes. And this will be it, because the video is getting longer than I wanted. There is much more to say, there's more combos, there's more potions you can use, but this will have to suffice for today. Remember to subscribe, comment and like, it makes the channel grow, makes me motivated, and then I make better builds. Better than this one? Impossible! That's quite good builds, I would say. The next Oblivion build will be the Monk, and I already can't wait. Can you wait? I can't wait. I already have I have the idea already sussed out. Okay, no. Anyway, subscribe, like, have fun, come back for more, and we will see each other again. Bye. Bye.
If you like that video, you're gonna love the next one.
I hated that video.
Well, then you're gonna love the next one.
Calm down, okay?